actually stuck to our pandemic project
We made 10 remake episodes.
with 9 movie themes.
That means we watched 26 movies.
Whoops. In addition, we also did an Easter special and a musical treat for y'all.
Time to start episode 10.
Let's go.
Yes. Dear friend.
Dear friend?
On this week's episode of Remakes, what were they thinking?
We explore the theme of Shop Around the Corner.
Which is based on a 1937 play called Parfumery, written by Miklos Lazlos.
So this week we're exploring 3 different movies. Our first one is the original from 1940.
The Shop Around the Corner with James Stewart and Margaret Sullivan.
Next we go to our musical remake from 1949.
In the Good Old Summertime with Judy Garland and Van Johnson.
And finally, our 1999 remake.
You've Got Mail with Meg Ryan and Tom Hanks.
Okay, so our plot this week is a romantic comedy. We have a guy and a girl who are secretly corresponding with each other, but in real life actually hate each other. Whoops.
We're going to start our comparison with the first 2 pictures, The Shop Around the Corner and In the Good Old Summertime. We feel that they stick with the storyline more closely, and then we'll come back to the 1999 version.
So let's start with our original, The Shop Around the Corner from 1940. So we have Dear Alfred here, and he starts corresponding with a lovely girl who he found in an advertisement in the paper. Now, he adores her because of her intellect and the poetry she writes, and she's just a modern girl, and he's so infatuated with her. Then we have Clara, and she also is doing a correspondence with some unknown guy. Come to find, they're corresponding with each other. But they hate each other at the store where they work. Now, Alfred here, he's always fixated on getting a raise and saving up for a house. He wants to get married to this dear girl that he has this beautiful correspondence with, and he wants children. Clara, she's just, infatuated with this mystery guy, and she just wants to get to know him. So what's the difference with the 1949 musical, Anne?
Well, to begin with, the title. It was called In the Good Old Summertime. So what am I supposed to expect from that? The original picture was going to be called The Girl from Chicago.
I would have preferred that.
Right? But they wanted a more musical title and probably has a bit of nostalgic quality to it. So we have Veronica and Andy, and they work together in a music store selling instruments and accessories. So they have the addition of musical numbers, and it's not a musical in the sense that it helps to move along the story, but there are numbers where she will sing the music that a customer wants to buy, or there was a party that she was asked to entertain. So again, you've got Judy Garland in the picture, so she needs to entertain. I didn't like the fact that there were extra subplots. They were cute, but not necessary.
What type of subplots were they?
Well, the owner of the store was carrying on a relationship with the head clerk and account person, Nellie. They'd been seeing each other for, 20 years, I think they said. And Mr. Oberkuchen played the violin, and that actually led into another subplot with the violinist. So it kind of strayed a little bit from the original. I mean, they made its way back, but it was cute as a standalone picture. If you hadn't seen the 1940 original, you would certainly enjoy it. We did like it, though. It's a pretty picture, and the music is fun. Okay. So, You've Got Mail takes place in New York City. You have Joe Fox and Kathleen Kelly. Now, Joe Fox, he is part of Fox & Sons. They're corporate bookstores, corporate America, moving into the neighborhood.
The Upper West Side, which if you don't know the Upper West Side in New York City, it is my favorite place because there's a lot of independent shops.
Which is what Kathleen Kelly's store. It's called The Shop Around the Corner.
Indeed.
And it's a children's bookstore that offers story time, and she wears a costume when she does it.
The neighborhood doesn't like it whenever a corporate any type of corporate organization moves in. So this is just common knowledge of New York City.
So that is part of what makes them angsty towards each other. But going back, they meet each other in a chat room, an online chat room, Kerri.
So for those of you who don't know, so Zillennials, back then in the late 90s, when we were just starting to have the internet, we used a platform called AOL, America Online. You would have to use your dial-up internet, wait for a busy signal, then jump online where you've got mail from your AOL server. The extension to AOL would also give you the ability to have a chat room, or what you guys do with Snapchat or texting or whatnot.
So instant messaging.
So instant messaging, which doesn't exist anymore. So anyway,
they discuss different topics and without revealing anything personal.
they don't realize they're talking to each other, but they are secret enemies.
Yes.
Because
Joe Fox, his big corporate store, is
going to take over everything.
And she's trying to keep it afloat.
Let's talk about the iconic scene.
The scene in the cafe, it's nearly the same in all three pictures.
Shot for shot, frame for frame, almost the exact same dialogue. So, our guy and our girl decide that they're going to officially meet up.
And that was nerve-wracking.
Well, it is on any situation like this. So,
they decide the girls would be bringing a book and a flower, so that would be how you would recognize who that person was.
So our guy ends up showing up to the cafe with his friend because clearly he needs
Can't do it
support.
by himself.
Has his friend look in the cafe window to say, is she there? Well, what does she look like? And his friend says, well, she kind of looks like either Veronica, Kathleen, or whatever, whichever girl
coloring.
is.
And she is attractive.
And he goes, well, you like her, right? And of course the guy goes, well, yeah, of course, but she's a pill.
Yeah.
And so then he goes, well, if you're not going to like her, then you're definitely going to like your date because it is her.
So he almost doesn't go in. The cad.
So
But then you see him going in all three versions. They go through that.
And as soon as he walks in, she goes, what are you doing here? Why are you here?
Because all she can think about is, I'm waiting for this gentleman.
Don't sit down.
And he's
Don't
gonna
sit
mess
down.
it up.
You're not staying. You're not going to sit with me. And she's very adamant. All three of them are
The
just
best scene in the picture.
so,
It's so sweet.
upset. And she tells him off.
Yes.
And then he goes, well, that's my cue. So in Veronica, Kathleen, or Clara's eyes, she got stood up.
So the fiasco of that made her ill, or psychologically. Couldn't go to work.
Or she just gets a cold because she's got too much going on. You know, Kathleen had to close her store.
And there's no letter. No response. That was heartbreaking. So then finally, there's correspondence.
Dear friend.
Dear friend. And he explains himself and says, I saw you sitting with a gentleman. That's what it is.
Or in the 1999 version, it was like, he doesn't really say, he says, just please realize I'm very sorry.
Well, which version was it where they found the flower outside the store?
In the good old summertime.
So he explains it by saying, oh, I saw you sitting with a gentleman, and I ended up being afraid. I didn't want to interfere because he was heartbroken.
I think it's clear to say, ladies, this guy is a coward in all three versions.
Right.
So, like, oh my God, Anne, do they end up together or not?
Of course they did. It's a rom-com.
Thank God it's a
Right?
rom-com. So, of course, Albert and Clara end up together. Veronica and Andy end up together.
Now, in these versions, he tells her in the store, and it's actually kind of seductive what he does to the character of Veronica here. He's touching her collar, and he's getting closer. I'm like, what? Oh, wait. Okay. Whatever. And this one,
They meet up in the park.
Oh, Joe, I was hoping it would be you. It is very touching.
And he goes, don't cry, shop girl, don't cry.
Don't cry, shop girl.
And, I mean,
cry.
come on. Like,
I know.
Okay.
So she lost her store, but she's happy because she has Joe.
Yep.
Okay, rom-com. And the other ones, they both got to keep their job, and they have a husband.
Huzzah!
Right?
Best of both worlds, apparently.
That's it exactly. Early on when we were discussing our themes for our pandemic project, I suggested the shop around the corner.
So we're on episode 10 now, and we're finally getting around to it. We kept pushing it back, and honestly, I apologize that I kept doing that because I love this story. It is beautiful.
Isn't it a great story?
So, in terms of remakes, what were they thinking? I don't really see anything wrong with the story.
I don't either.
I don't see any problems with it. I appreciate the way each version tells the story. There are some things I don't like in terms of acting, but why don't we get to that now? So, the original. I love this movie. First time seeing it, and I fell in love. I can't wait to own it on Blu-ray. Jimmy Stewart, you're
Isn't he
incredible.
great?
He's just like a guy you want to see in movies. He's just, he's a great guy.
They were great together. Wonderful chemistry.
Beautiful.
Great
Start
pacing.
to finish, it was fantastic.
Great
no
pacing.
problems. I don't understand why 9 years later we have to make a musical adaptation of the original, but okay, MGM, sure.
Well, yeah, and what I've read is that often if there's a movie that's successful, it's like, hey, let's put music in it and have somebody else. They were going to have Frank Sinatra and June Allison originally.
I actually would have preferred that. I'm not going to lie. So
June Allison would have been her typical June Allison self in playing this
I
role.
love Judy Garland, don't get me wrong. But she's strong in one scene, and then she's like, in the next scene, a blubbering mess. Girl, decide what type of person you are and stick with it.
Yeah, I think that's a director. My opinion.
Possibly.
I think that's a director.
I also have a problem with the fact that neither one of them had chemistry.
Yeah.
And the guy who played Andy, he's just unmemorable.
Van Johnson.
Very basic.
He's typical boy next door is what he plays.
Yeah, he was basic.
So, yeah.
I also don't understand why it's called In the Good Old Summertime, because the movie doesn't even take place in the summer.
It starts out. But I think they just wanted a nostalgic quality to it.
It's just, okay.
So,
Moving on. So, You've Got Mail was like one of my first favorite rom-coms growing up. Obsessed with it at a young age. You can't go wrong with Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan. We've also seen them in Sleepless in Seattle. Nora Ephron adapted the story, and she makes beautiful movies.
And I saw this movie in the theater when I first saw it. And I'm sitting there watching, and I'm like, boy, this seems like In the Good Old Summertime or Shop Around the Corner. And doggone it, yep, I was right. I like the retelling.
No, I mean,
I like the modern updates.
Granted, it does get a little long. Some of the subplots and everything are pointless, but I appreciate watching it right now because I love the Upper West Side and it's my city.
And the corresponding is more relevant to
It's more
today.
relevant.
So,
yes.
If you like current pictures, I mean, this is a little old in our standards today, but I think you'd like this.
All in all, we recommend all three.
All three.
All
They're
three.
all good standalone.
Yes.
In light of the fact that there's a few extra subplots and little nuances, they're all great pictures by themselves.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. I think we agree.
I'm so glad that we did Shop Around the Corner for our 10th episode.
I knew you'd love it.
I loved it. So, and what are we doing next week?
Well, it's our 11th episode, and Kerri had a great idea. Let's watch Ocean's 11.
I didn't realize there was an original from the 1960s.
I didn't either, because I've never seen it. So it'll be exciting to see that version.
Always adored 2001. It's one of my favorite movies. I do love a good heist movie.
It'll be fun.
This one will probably scream.
Maybe.
Until then, as always,
thank you for watching.
we really appreciate it. Folks, stay safe.
Be well.
Wash your hands.
Stay in touch.
Wear your mask.
We love you. We love you.
Bye.